There is one specific number sitting somewhere in the future of almost every person who invests consistently, a wall that most people walk straight into and quietly give up in front of, without ever finding out what happens on the other side of it. That number is $600,000. Below it, building wealth feels like pushing a boulder up a hill with your bare hands, every single month, for years, with almost nothing to show for it. Above it, something strange happens. The boulder starts rolling on its own, and it never asks you for help again. Most people never see this shift, not because it is rare, but because they quit in year 7 or year 8, convinced the math is broken, right before the math was about to start working in their favor for the first time. Nobody tells you this part in school, at work, or even in most personal finance content, because it is not exciting to explain. It is simply true, and the people who understand it early are the ones who end up on the right side of it. If you are anywhere between $0 and $600,000 right now, stay with me, because what I am about to show you is the exact point where everything quietly flips, and there is a good chance you are closer to it than you think. Meet David, 34 years old, an operations manager who has done exactly one disciplined thing for the last several years, invested $3,000 every single month into a simple low-cost index fund, $36,000 a year, without missing a single month, rain or shine, raise or no raise. No lifestyle upgrade, no lucky stock pick, no inheritance, just the same boulder pushed up the same hill on the same day every month, automated straight out of his paycheck before he ever has the chance to spend it. In year 1, his account holds $36,000. In year 2, $74,000. By year 5, he has personally deposited $180,000 of his own money into that account, and it feels, to him, exactly like it sounds, like carrying almost the entire weight of his own future on his back, month after month, with the market barely lifting a finger to help. He is not wealthy by any obvious measure yet, no one at work knows the number sitting in his account, and there is nothing visible to show for years of consistency, just a habit repeated quietly in the background of an otherwise ordinary life. Here is the part nobody warns you about, the flat, grinding middle years where the math looks like it is barely moving. David checks his account and sees a number that grew mostly because he put money in, not because anything grew on its own. Meanwhile, friends around him are leasing new cars, taking vacations, upgrading apartments, living visibly well on the same salary he earns, and David is sitting there wondering if the discipline is even worth it. This is exactly where most people quit, not because they ran out of money, but because they ran out of patience watching a boulder that refuses to move on its own. The uncomfortable truth is that in these early years, David's own contribution is doing almost all of the heavy lifting, and the market's help is so small it barely registers, which makes the entire process feel unfair, slow, and honestly, a little pointless. But stay with me, because there is a specific, calculable point where this entire relationship reverses, and once you see the number behind it, you will understand exactly why the people who quit here are quitting at the worst possible moment. Let's look at exactly why those early years feel so heavy. At an average return of 6% a year, once David's account reaches $36,000, the market itself contributes only around $2,160 that year, while David personally contributes $36,000 from his own paycheck. He is doing roughly 94% of the work, and the market is doing about 6% of it. Even at $100,000 in the account, the market's yearly contribution is only around $6,000, still a fraction of what David is putting in himself. By $300,000, the market's contribution climbs to around $18,000 a year, closer, but still trailing behind his own $36,000 contribution. This is the part almost nobody explains clearly. In the early stage of investing, you are the engine, and the market is barely a passenger, which is exactly why this stage feels so exhausting and so slow, because mathematically, at this point, it actually is. Now here is the moment everything changes, and it happens at a very specific, calculable number. At 6% average growth, the market starts contributing $36,000 a year, the same amount David personally contributes, the moment his account crosses $600,000. This is the $600,000 rule. Below that number, David's own paycheck is doing more work than the market. Above it, the market is doing an equal or greater share of the work than David is, without him lifting a single additional finger. And it does not stop there, because the market's contribution keeps growing every single year afterward, while David's monthly contribution stays exactly the same, meaning the gap between what he contributes and what the market contributes only widens further with every passing year. Stay with me here, because this is the number most people give up right before reaching. The boulder that was fighting him for 8 straight years quietly stops fighting back, and starts rolling downhill under its own weight for the very first time. Fast forward another 10 years past that $600,000 mark, and the picture looks almost unrecognizable. At 6% growth, David's account crosses $1.3 million, and by that point, the market is contributing nearly $80,000 a year on its own, more than double what David personally puts in from his paycheck. The boulder is no longer his to push, it is rolling entirely on its own momentum, gaining speed with every year that passes, while David's monthly $3,000 contribution, the exact same amount he started with a decade earlier, now barely moves the needle compared to what the market itself is generating. Somewhere around this point, David could stop contributing altogether and the account would still keep growing faster than it did during his most disciplined early years. The years that once felt like the hardest. This is not a story about luck, or timing the market, or discovering some hidden trick that only a few people know about. David did not do anything complicated, he simply kept pushing during the years when nothing seemed to be happening, which is precisely the part almost everyone underestimates. The flat, frustrating middle years are not wasted time, they are the actual mechanism that gets you to the point where the math flips in your favor. There is nothing unfair about the fact that early growth feels invisible, that is simply what building the base of a mountain looks like before you can stand on top of it. It also does not matter whether your version of this rule kicks in at $600,000 or some other number entirely, because the number itself depends on your contribution rate and your rate of return. What matters is understanding that the number exists at all, and that it is coming, whether it feels like it or not. The only real difference between the people who reach $600,000 and the people who quietly give up at $150,000 is not intelligence, or income, or luck, it is whether they kept pushing through the years when the boulder felt heaviest. If your account does not feel like it is moving yet, that does not mean the math is broken, it means you have not reached the hill's turning point, and the turning point is closer than the flat years make it feel. Every boulder feels heaviest right before it starts rolling on its own, and the $600,000 mark is not a finish line, it is the exact place where the effort quietly shifts from your shoulders to the markets, permanently, for as long as you let it keep rolling. The years that felt pointless were never actually pointless, they were the only way to get here, the toll you pay once, at the base of the hill, so that you never have to pay it again once you are standing at the top of it. So if you are somewhere on that hill right now,